Sorry, interrupted my streaming, and so I was saying that the whole aim of coming online doing this live streaming is, you know, I'm a web developer, I build websites, so I want to be streaming what I'm doing so that some people will follow, get inspiration, get encouragement, and all of that. So if you are a tech person, you would definitely like to join this live streaming. I'll be keeping this camera. I'll be walking around. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes or some minutes. I will come to the camera, say one or two, then go back. So if you're a tech person and you definitely would like to get if you're a tech person and you would like to get inspiration, you would definitely like to follow this live streaming. So let's see how it goes. All right.
I simply want to say slash Instagram, slash Twitter, wherever you want to take the user on your website and what the response we need to send, that's where Express helps us a little bit. All that we write for the authentication logic, authorization logic, all the business logic, what happens
Let's
with the
learn
data,
together.
is the data valid, should I give a response back, should I not give a response back, should I give a all okay response, should I give a hey, everything is bad response. All that happens in core JavaScript via the Express. And the obvious question is why Express? Why not other things? There are so many cool things available in the market. So Express is something you can find it at expressjs.com. Recently they got a revamp of the dark mode. I'm super happy with it. There's a light mode as well. Nobody liked it, but hey, I'll go with the dark one. So it's a fast, unopinionated, minimalistic web framework for Node.js. Being unopinionated means it's super easy and fast to learn and it scales nicely. We have tried and tested it in the production, and it's one of the industry standards still to this date that's going on. So we want to learn something which is industry standard, but once you learn about how the Express works, about its middleware, the API, the web application, and all these things, then this knowledge is completely transferable. You can transfer this knowledge onto other such similar web frameworks or library, whatever you want to call them, there's one which I'll definitely introduce you towards the end of this course, known as Hono. If you're on the channel, you already know I have a video already on the Hono. That's exactly the same video. But in case you're watching it in one go or some other platform, then obviously this will come at towards the very end. Hono is another such web framework which helps you to write similar routing infrastructure. And this one is pretty nice. It has a lot of batteries included. It runs with different kind of environment. It can the same code can not exactly same, but yeah, majority of that code can run in Node, in Bun, and different environments, even on the Cloudflare environment. That's why it's super amazing. Similarly, there's a new one which is Alicia JS, getting very popular and it's really powerful. I recently tried it, enjoyed the developer experience, but these are not meant for you to learn on the day one with just getting started. These are meant to learn after some experience. Once you have the experience with Express, then Hono and Alicia will be all just super easy for you to learn and get comfortable. So our choice is going to be Express. We'll get our hands dirty. We'll go absolutely in depth with Express. And then as we move progress towards the end of this course, we'll explore Hono and we'll explore Alicia and whatnot and all the other things. Okay. Now, another key component to build an entire backend application is some kind of database. And we need to just figure out, hey, we want to choose one. Once you understand and master one database, moving on to other database is relatively simple, but you need to spend good amount of time with at least one of the database. That can be a SQL one, that can be a NoSQL one. It's not really that much of a rocket science after you understand one of the database. So surely we could have chosen MySQL, Postgres, or anything else, but in this entire application, we are choosing MongoDB for that one. Now, in the world of JavaScript, we don't touch MongoDB directly in majority of the case, although you can. We still require a library. In this case, we are using Mongoose as a library to interact with MongoDB so that we don't have to write the core code of the MongoDB, writing those database queries, sending the data, getting the data back. There's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done. There's also multiple connections there to the database. We want to handle the connection pooling. There's so much of infrastructure that we have to work on. Mongoose help us to actually interact with that. Just like Express is not the only one, Mongoose is also not the only one. There are other ORMs. ORMs is simply a short form you can as of now understand. It's an object relational mapper, a big word. Just simply understand to keep my data structure into some structure and then to talk to the database, I need some guy in between. That's my middleman. And that is what your Mongoose is. And similar to Mongoose, we have other options as well. You might have heard about Prisma. Oh boy, this is such a nice to define your structure. I don't think anybody still to this date has come which is anywhere near about how you define your schema. Running the queries, that's a different one. And you'll find a lot of people critiquing Prisma about, hey, it doesn't really perform really well on the queries part. That's a different talk altogether. But oh boy, that's the way how it interact with the SQL databases and especially the query structuring. That is amazing. Then we have another popular guy, Drizzle, and by the time you will be watching this video, I'm pretty sure there will be one or two other which might be popping up. So they pop up all the time. There is nothing like we're not going to be spending a good amount of time in discussing this which one is best. It's all depends on what's your use case, what database you're using. Like Mongoose and MongoDB, they are match made in heaven. Similarly, if you want to use Postgres, go for Drizzle or Prisma. They actually suits equally well. Depends on what your use case is. We'll not talk about them as of now. As of now, this is our stack that we want to master it. Once we master it, then we obviously can go on to different arenas, fight different games with Prisma, Drizzle, and whatnot. Your focus at the time of learning through this course is, hey, I want to master this. At least I'll have a rock solid knowledge of it. Then I'll try to expand the horizon of how things actually go. So, final note. We'll be handling all the web requests. The web request will come to my Express application that runs in a Node environment. In that, I'll be writing all of my auth logic and business logic. And in case whenever there is a need of it, we won't be needing it in this video, but very soon in the upcoming videos, we'll need it. In case my Express application needs to talk to database to get some data or save some data, we use a layer of Mongoose in between, and that Mongoose will further talk to MongoDB. Now it looks like that the Mongoose and MongoDB are really like there's too much going on. But what you'll realize it actually is not that far. It's actually very close to MongoDB. It doesn't take that much of latency. It doesn't add that much of overhead. But yeah, a little bit of overhead is there. But don't you worry on that part. So I'll just keep it very close that it's there. But you get the idea. Now MongoDB also provides you direct drivers as well, but it's a little bit complicated, a little bit extra code to work with that. So we'll leave that heavy lifting for the sake of developer experience and follow the best practices that we'll be using Mongoose for that. All right, so that's settled up. Let's go ahead and work with that. So we'll keep our Postman open up. We'll be needing that in probably this or the next video. And by the way, I also will be pushing it up all on my GitHub as well. And through that, we'll be using DigitalOcean. This one of my account has some of the credits, so we can try and test out our application by putting it in the production. And there are a lot of ways you can do the things in the hard way by using the droplet or spinning up a virtual server itself. You manage everything on your own, from the port protection to the firewalls and whatnot. Or you can just use the app platform, which is a lot more things automated in that way. We'll definitely come back onto this one. Right now, we want to go through with Express. Now, working with Express is super easy. You can just click on Get Started, and there's a whole lot of steps being involved and is being given to you. We'll be using some of them. It's actually super easy. What we're going to do right now is let's open up and we'll be creating a new folder for it. I will be using this folder, but I'll be deleting the repository that I'll be creating in this video because I'll give you this entire source code in a separate repository. This one is just for the sake of we can put the things in production. So let's just call this one as 02, and we're going to call this one as Express. Now, working with Express is actually super easy. Follow me along from here, and I'll right click and open it into the integrated terminal. That's important because I want to be in the root folder, not by, hey, I'm into this folder. So make sure whenever you check the PWD present working directory, you are in this Express folder. Now, once you're in this folder, all you have to do now is create a node project. We haven't done this so far. We have been writing our code directly into the JavaScript files, which is not really the best way. So what we're going to do is we're going to say in npm init. We can provide an option of -y to directly accept all the defaults, but since this is the first time you're going through it, I'll show a yes, and from the next point onwards, we'll just use an option of -y to just simply go ahead and run through it. When I say init, it gives me a utility that what should be the package name. You can use the default package name as Express, or you can just go ahead and give your name as well to this project. So I'm going to call this one as, uh, let's call this one as T Manager. I'm a big fan of T, especially iced tea, so I'll just call this one as T Manager. What's the version of it? 1.0.0 is fine for me. Description, a simple manager for, let's just call this one as, oops, different T. T is fine. Entry point is index.js. You can call it server.js, index.js, whatever you like. I'm happy with index.js. Test command, we don't have any testing command as of now. We will create the Git repository later on. Right now, I'm not interested in that. Keywords, I'll call this one as Express. It's not really required. Express and T are my keywords. Author, definitely that's me. And license, ISC is good enough. Not a video about the licensing yet. Yes, this is all okay. Now, once this all is done, what you'll notice is in the this, you'll find a package.json file. This is a file which is the first entry point whenever your application gets started by the node. This is where it checks all the setting that what I need to install and all these things. This is checked by the production applications as well. The first thing that we're going to do is it says that the main entry point of application is index.js. I don't have that, so I'll just right click and create this file, and I'll call this one as index.js. Whatever you called it there, you just go ahead and call it here same, exactly same. Now I want to run this to your call. I'll just write is it says that the main entry point of application is index.js. I don't have that, so I'll just right click and create this file, and I'll call this one as index.js. Whatever you called it there, you just go ahead and call it here same, exactly same. Now I want to run this application. So there are a couple of ways how we can run it. The most basic way is node, and node should be, oops, it should be start, not the node. Whenever I run the command of start, this should run via the node a file known as index.js. Now this is absolutely fine. The way how we use this command now, the script start, is really simple. I just go ahead and say npm run and the name of your script. In my case, the name of my script is start. If your is Superman, you can go ahead and do that, but that's the standard of having the start here. Cool, that's nice. And we'll see that some of the issues are there. Now, in the world of JavaScript, there are a couple of ways how you write your code in a modular fashion and whatnot. One is the syntax of require, one is the syntax of import. So feel free to choose. Based on that, you have to put a settings in here. So I can just go ahead and say that, hey, I want to use a setting of type, and then you can use common JS and module. Most of the time, people prefer to use module. I also prefer to use module. So I'll just add that setting here so that instead of writing const express require express, I can just import the express from express, of course. So again, depends on what suits you best. You just go ahead and use that. I'll save this. This one. So this is my settings. Now, next up is I need to install Express. So this is all what we have done, entry point and whatnot. The next big command for us is npm install Express. So this is exactly what we want. So copy this and we'll just paste this. Once you run this command, this is going to is npm install express. So this is exactly what we want. So copy this and we'll just paste this. Once you run this command, this is going to install Express as a package. So if I just go ahead and see dependencies, there we go. I have Express version 4.19.2. So that's the version that I'm using. So pretty good. And it has also created node modules, so all the code files that are required are being transferred. Now moving on, what's the next thing that I can do? The next thing is, hey, you should be writing a hello world. So let's go ahead and see that. This is how you write it. But hey, notice here, we are not using the express. Why did you change the dark mode? That's really bad. It should be dark mode. Anyways, so now it's saying that, hey, you can use this exact same command, const express require express, then create an app, and then you can handle the routing and whatnot. So we surely can do that, but I'll show you a simple step. I'll be using this one as express. Let's go back up here. I'll go into index file, and as soon as I do this, this is not going to work. It even shows that file is a common JS module. It may be converted to ES module. So hey, this syntax is not going to work. So we need to find a better way of doing this. And easy another syntax is const, and we can go ahead and say we want express, and oops, not const, import express from, and then we can use express. That's the difference. That's the only difference when we go ahead from the common thing. Now, once you have this express, the rest of the stuff is pretty standard. So what do we do that? After that, we go ahead and create an app, and that app actually comes from express. Now this app, is a powerful object. It has so many things that it can do. The most common one that you're going to see is to listen on any port. So for this, let's go ahead and define a port, and that port for us can be 3000, 8000. Different people are different fan of different port numbers. We can just pick any one. And then we can just go ahead and say app dot listen, and this listen takes two parameters. The first one is the port, and by the way, I'm not making this stuff. This is actually written up here. It can listen on the port with a callback. So that's exactly what I'm writing line by line. And there we go. If it
Yeah, your favorite web dev. Do you need a website? Let me know. I build websites for brands, individuals, corporates, organizations. If you need a website, you got to follow me up.
successfully listens to it, we can go ahead and do a simple console log that simple server is, or we can use backticks, that would be fun. We can just go ahead and say server is running at port, and then we can say colon, let's inject this. There we go. And port, there we go. And of course, we'll do three dots. It looks cool. There we go. Now, how can we run this? Pretty simple. I can just go ahead and make a change up here. I can say npm run and run my start script. The moment I do this, it gives me a message that server is running at port 3000. So that's nice that my server is running on the port. Now, this is the basic. You'll always write this boilerplate code. Now, what additionally you might want to write is some of the endpoints. If you remember from earlier when we designed this Express server, we had to respond to so many of these routes, slash, hellos, and whatnot. Uh, we even didn't thought about what kind of requests were coming in. Express actually thinks very, very carefully about it. If you'll notice here, there are different kind of requests. Get for regular getting the data, post to send some data that needs to be saved in the database. There's a put request, patch request, delete request to delete some resources and whatnot. Express actually makes our life easier by doing so. Using the Express, the app that I've created, I can just go ahead and say app, and then I can put a dot. And notice here there are so many methods available here, enabled, engines, and whatnot. Listen, local, merge. Oh man, there's so many of them. We'll be using just a simple method that app wants to respond to a get request. Now, what this get request does and what port it is there. So I'll just say that I want to request, handle a request which is on the slash port, the home route. And whenever there is a request comes in, I'll just go ahead and use a request and response as an object, which is available in every get method if you're using app. And then we can just go ahead and use a callback like this. Now, using the request, I can extract all the data that's coming up from the request of the user. By using the REST, I can respond to any of the user. You can check the docs for more of these. Respond can directly send the data like this, or it can send the data in the JSON format, APIs, and whatnot. I'll just use a simple send, and I'll go ahead and say something like this. Hello from Hitesh and T. And here's T. So, of course, with explanation. The problem with this is that my server was already running. The updates that I've made, my server is not aware of these updates. So there are a couple of options. I can just go ahead and stop this, and I can start it again that, hey, this is how I want to run it. Yes, there are other ways, better ways of handling the things, but right now this is how we do it. So we are running on 3000. Let's go ahead and test it out. We want to send a new request, and this is how you professionally do it. I saw and I know a lot of people uh, who loves to open the browser and show you everything in the browser. No, no, no. We are not doing it. We are doing everything by a professional way. So fire up your Postman. And we want to go with the request. And what we're going to say is 127.0.0.1. And after that, we want to just hit colon 3000 and then a slash. This is my request. Make sure this says as a get because that's the request we want to send, not the post, not the put, not the patch, get request. And as soon as I send this request, it gives me a response back which says hello from Hitesh and hit is T. Very nice, very nice. Comparatively, this code is much more cleaner, much more expandable. I can move this code into different files and whatnot. So I think now you have understood that, hey, using Express is not that bad. It makes my life a tiny bit easier. Now all I have to do is I can do a speed development, and I can show you off a little bit. So I can just go ahead and do a copy of this. So I can just go ahead and say, let me just select all of this, have a copy of this, and I can say I want to handle another route, which is going to be, let's just say ice dash t. And in this case, I will just say something like this. What iced tea would you prefer if I can write that? Would you prefer? Not an exclamation, this is a question. So I can just save this. The only problem is, and this is something that I don't like. This is a development, so I should fix this. How can I fix this? I don't want to keep on starting and running it. There are packages for it, which makes your life a little bit easier. Let's fix this first so that any change that I make, my server should restart. So let's stop this. And there is a solution for this, which is known as NodeMon. And yes, you can do that directly by the node itself. You can do a watch mode, but I'll tell you the standard way. First of all, go in the package.json and we'll install, but this time we'll install it in with a different way. Previously, we said npm install express. That is the way how you install regular dependency. But there are some things which doesn't needs to be sent to your server, to your production. We call them as development dependency. Means they're useful for development. They might be a little heavy, but hey, it's okay. We are using it just for development. We never send it out in the production. The way how we do it is we can either say dash dash save dev and all of that. I hate that. I just use a dash d, which is a short form of development dependency. And I'll just go ahead and say I want to install a nodemon. And now I install this. This nodemon, you can see there's a difference. Dependencies gets installed on server. Dev dependencies are 100% ignored there. Now I need to run a separate command so that I know that this is a common command that will be running in my production environment. But there's no shortage, I can create more command and I can run a simple dev command which fires up nodemon and the index.js. So you guessed it. It's pretty easy now that we can go ahead and work and say npm run dev. And nodemon is now running. And the best part is I can close the run dev. And nodemon is now running. And the best part is I can close this, go into index.js. Let's create one more route up here. So I can just go ahead and say, I want to create a route that goes onto my Twitter and it responds back with my Twitter ID. hitesh.com. Save this, notice automatically it restarted. I don't have to do anything. I can keep it running. I can even close this terminal. It will keep on working in the background. So makes my life so much easier. You can see now we are moving on to production grade development, which is much faster. You have a job. It's not like you are just having fun and restart. You need to write some code that needs to go in production. So speed is important, developer experience is important. So we're gonna go ahead and say ice dash t. We hit that route. It says what would you like to prefer as an iced tea, or we can just go ahead and ask it for Twitter slash Twitter, and there we go. So hitesh.com. So we have seen one thing that it's really nice to work with this, and Express is not really that bad. Now, can we do some kind of a serious development as well? Yeah. So far, we have done this basic, and nobody likes this basics. We need to do something which is really cool, and we can learn something and brush up your JavaScript skills. So I'll just remove everything from here. And now let me show you one more configuration. We will be using a lot of middleware and we'll talk about this. Right now, one of the major problem is so far we have just sent the data as back. We have returned the data, nothing else. Now we want to accept some data from the front end side as well. There are many ways of how we can do that. The most common one is to have a settings that we call in the app. There are so many ways how you can use the settings from the front end side. We'll just go with the basic one, which is app.use, and we'll be using express dot and we'll be saying JSON. So any data that comes up in the JSON format, we accept that. There are settings for taking data in the form, in URL encoded forms. There's so much more that we can do. Right now, we'll just go with the basics and we'll see what happens. Figure out. Now, we want to design a simple application which stores my data in an array. So let's just call this one as t data. I love t, so I'll store everything in an array, t data. And since if I'm going to push the data in the t, I need a way to uniquely identify the data. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one as next ID, and I'll just start with one. All right. Now I need to create a different route so that I can add a t into this t data. I can see how many t's are there in my array. I should be able to update it. I should be able to delete it. Now, how do we do that? Follow me along, and this is we are building the entire CRUD application right now, right here. That is the fun part. We'll do the testing as well. So, for whenever you take any data, the chances are high that you actually use the post route. Not always compulsory, but majority of the time when you want to save the data in database or something, post is better way. You can take the data in get as well, no problem there, but it's the most standard way. The route that we want to handle in this case is going to be slash, and we'll be calling it as t's. You can call it as 1t as well. And we'll say that, hey, I'll be getting the data. You know that I have a callback just like this. And in the callback, I do have a request and a response accessible to me. This request and response is magic. through the request, I'm saying that I'll receive a body. Now, this is a parameter that is given to you by Express. And yes, I'll show you the documentation as well. There's so much more that you can learn about it in case you want to see that. We can just go into Express and we can go with the API reference 4 or 5. We'll go with the 4. And in this, on the left hand side, you can see request and response. Yes, that's exactly same, rec and res. So this request, you can see there's so much more in here. We have used just a minority of that. So you can see that we use app.get. Similarly, we have app.post. And there's an app.use as well that we just use. So it's just behind me. So there we go. App.use, we have used this one. You can check out what more you can do in it. If you want to have path, description, we'll study some of these docs. But anyways, let's go back. So from the request, you can extract the data. So I want to extract just the two things. So I'll just go ahead and say, give me name and also give me price. There we go. Now I'm destructuring on the go. The way how actually the data comes up is there will be request dot body and all the parameters that you pass up. For example, request dot body dot price. This is how usually the data comes up. It's a big object, body is an object, and you should really try to console log. I'll show you that as well. Request.body, but I'm destructuring it on the go, so it's much more easier for me. Classic JavaScript 101. I hope there is no issue in that. Once I have this, now I need to create an object so that I can store this object in my database. So how do we create an object? Let's just go ahead and call this one as new t. Should be fairly easy. The properties that you want to inject in it, I will have an ID. ID will be, let's just call this one as next ID, and we'll increment the ID. First we'll use it, then we'll keep on incrementing it. And then we also store name and price that we borrowed from the request body. I have this object. All I do is now save this object. Instead of database, right now we have a T data. You know how to handle the arrays. We can push it and we can just say new data, new T actually. And after that, we want to send a status that, hey, everything was good. So we'll just say res, and res can have a status. Status could be 201, everything was good. Then further, you can chain on multiple methods. I'll just send a response, and in the response, I'll also throw in the new data so that user can know what data I just saved. I can save this. I know that my server gets restart. Save this, it restarts, nice and easy. Now I can try and test that whether my data went in. It's not going to be a foolproof test, but hey, slash t's, let's just see how we can do that. I'll just go ahead and say t's, and this time it's not a get request, it's a post request. But how do I send the data? Should I write it here? No, you don't do that. You go into the body and then you select the raw. Yeah, you don't select the form data, you don't select the X form URL encoded, you just select the raw. Through the raw, you drop down and select the JSON in it. Now you need to provide a valid JSON data. This is how a valid JSON looks like. And in that, we'll be providing that, hey, what is the name of the data? So name, let's just say this is ginger tea. And what should be the price of it? I'll go ahead and say price. And the price will be, it's expensive tea, 100. And we haven't actually restricted that you can only send me the numbers or anything. So I'll just go ahead and say something like this, 100 rupees. Now, when I go ahead and send it as a post request, now notice here I get back that the ID is here, ginger tea and all of that. I can repeat this request. Instead of ginger tea, I'll use the masala tea. It's a little more expensive. What can I say? It's economy. I'll just send it, and this time the ID increases and everything. But the problem is, it's an array. It's an in-memory database. So if I accidentally even hit a save, that's it. My server restarts and everything is gone. Now if I go ahead and send this data again, it starts with 1. Everything got reset. Good enough, good enough. But can we go ahead and list all the T's? Yeah, that should be fine, and that should be super easy for you. App.get, and there we go. What do you want to call it? T's. Same stuff, very repeatable. Request, response, a simple callback. What do you want to send back? I want to send a status back. The status can be of simply 200. And what do you want to send back? I want to send the whole array, so I can just go ahead and call this one as t data. That's it. And we can work with that. Super simple. I can make a get request to t's. Let's just send this request. Now we have a proper masala tea. And let's go ahead and copy this. We'll do a proper checking after this. and paste this. Is this time it's the same route. Notice here it's tease, it's also tease, but this is post request, this is get request. We'll go ahead and say this is a get request, send that, and there we go. You receive an array with this. You can go back here, and instead of masala, we can go back to ginger, which is one of my favorite one, apart from iced tea. Send it back, go to this route, do the testing. Now you have two objects. There we go. Professionally being done. All right, couple of more things. How can I get a single T? That is also easy. Since we are storing the IDs, you need to provide me the ID. All right, so how can we do that? Super easy again. You can use app.get, the same stuff, and you can hit the same route in it. In fact, you can just go ahead and see T's. But you need to give me some data so that I know what T you're looking for. The easiest way, best way is to hit a slash, then there is a special syntax known as colon, and then you can provide me ID. ID means 1, 2, 3. ID could be strings as well, but whatever you write after slash T's, that will be my ID. So slash T's, here if you write Hitesh, that's my ID. If you write here 1, that's my ID. If you write it here 2, that's my ID. I go up here and say, hey, you will provide me an ID to search for it. So request response, and there we go. Super easy, nothing big deal. Now, how do I find? It's exactly same as how you find anything in the array. There is nothing backend in it. There is nothing express in it. So, how do we get that? So this T data, I can use so many ways to find anything inside an array. Let's use a simple find method. In the find method, it goes back to every single um, object of the array, or entity of the array would be better word. And I'll say, hey T, and how do you get back that T? So for that, I'll compare that T will have an ID as an object inside that. If that matches to request dot params, and again this is a new word. Hey, where did this param comes from? If you want to extract, if you noticed here, so far we have been accepting everything inside the body. That's the request dot body. But if you are sending me anything inside the URL, you extract that via the params keyword. Super simple. If anything comes in the body, you say request dot body. If anything comes in the URL, you call it as params. After that, you're going, whatever you're going to call that needs to match with this one. If you call it ID here, you need to call this one as ID here. If you call it Superman here, you need to call it Superman here. Simple, no big deal. But the problem is anything that comes up from the URL is in the string format. So what you need to do is you need to actually put this up here and have to say parse int, so that we are 100% sure that we are comparing, we're using triple equal. So we are making sure that we are comparing numbers with the numbers. Anything that comes from the params is actually a string. So once we have this, let's go ahead and store that into a T variable. There we go, nice and easy. And if you don't, like we need to check in conditionally, and we simply go ahead, if we don't have any T, then we want to say I couldn't find it. So return res dot status, the favorite status of everybody that everybody knows. I'm pretty sure you have seen 404. And then I can send a simple data that, hey, T not found. Simple 101. If you have the T, then simply go ahead and send it. Status. First we'll do the status. And we'll say 200. I found it. And then we can go ahead and say send. And I can just go ahead and send this T. Pretty simple, nothing to break the sweat here. Okay, this is the one thing. Now, obviously, there are ways of how you would love to get this data and delete this. So let me just write this as a comment so that you know this. This is add a new T. And this one is a route to get all T. And that's how you design things in the real world as well. Get all T and get a T with ID. And now we need to write some, in fact, two more routes that can do and finish our CRUD operation. So bear with me. I know it's a little bit of a longer one, but hey, we are learning so much into this one. I know we are almost like 36 minutes. Still not a big deal. It's a decent lecture. So just follow me up. Okay, let's go ahead and write for the update. Oops, writing. And we'll say update T. And for updation of the T, we use app dot put. Yep, that's the new one again. And again, we have all these methods available in the Postman. That's why I say browser doesn't cut through when you go through with the backend development. Same, we can go with the T's, just like that. But this time in the T's, you have to actually give me an ID. So colon ID. Now you know rest of the part. It's very repeatable knowledge. We can have a simple request, response, go like that. The step one is to grab this ID. How can we grab that? It's actually super easy. If you want to grab it, just go ahead and call this one as request dot rams dot ID. You can grab it, and we can call this one as const ID, or we can call this one as TID. And this is the one that I'm looking up for. So how can I find this particular ID? In order to update anything, I need to find it first. So let's just go ahead and call this one again. We can actually use the same data. If we are able to find it, we can actually go ahead and update it, just like that. So I'll just go ahead and copy this. Yeah, that's good enough. There we go. Now what we want to do is, instead of, we don't even need this now. We are directly grabbing this. So yeah, that's fine. Now we have an access of T. If we don't get a T, immediately we want to respond that, hey, I couldn't find the T. T not found. So there we go, borrowing some code. But in case you have the T, then I expect more data from you. It's not like I'll magically update it. You'll send me what data to update. You'll definitely give me data in the URL that this is the T I'm looking forward to update. But you also need to send me that you want to send update its name, you want to update its price, what you really want to do. So in this case, what we're going to do is we'll say const, and let's say I will grab name and I'll grab price, and we're going to go ahead and get it from request.body. And once I have this, I'll say t.name is now the new name that you're giving me. So that's nice. And I can say res.send, and we can send response 100 and dot send, and we can send this T. So there we go. Hopefully this is good enough. And if there is not, we can shortly update logic. This is what we call as business logic. So in case you heard about this term, that hey, we write a business logic, that's exactly the business logic. This time the business logic is all about how we're updating the T and all of that. Now we can go ahead and delete that as well. Just one final thing. So we can go delete T. For that, we are going to use app.delete.